podcast is back. This is probably the eighth or ninth episode, and we have the usual Saad, and we have Ran, and then we have the first female on our podcast, Shanzir. Um, Before we start talking about the thing we decided to talk about, a few things. I actually want this podcast to grow, so I'm gonna put an effort into it. And over time, I have equipment that's like I have a list of equipment I want to get to record this in person. So once we actually get listeners, I'm gonna pump some money into this and like improve the quality because right now it's pretty shit. Um, but yeah, so the thing we want to talk about is the mind. So a lot of people like I've heard a lot of people confess that they try to stay away from their like thoughts, and so they socialize a lot, or they like usually spend their time watching movies and shows just to not be left alone with their thoughts because they find it scary. And I find that weird because as an introvert, I prefer being like alone and like being left alone with my thoughts and think about a bunch of things. And one of the concerns people have is that they keep overthinking situations that gets them stressed and anxious. So, what do you guys think about that?
Um, Personally, I don't really relate because I tend to like approaching my problems in a direct way. I like to approach them really straightforwardly. I When I have a problem, I see it more as like, okay, this is something I have to overcome, a hurdle that I have to come up with a solution for. And but I can empathize with why certain people do feel that way if they feel like they're helpless and they can't really deal with it, or maybe if they're just um, like afraid. Sometimes it's a coping mechanism to just try and not deal with their problems. I know lots of people who do engage with stuff like that, and I don't think it's only about like being introverted or extroverted. It's more to it than that, obviously. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think even introverted people can try and like avoid their problems with stuff like you said, like watching movies, TV, just ignoring the problem. And even extroverted people can like use friends to engage with their like problems. So like it's more to it. Like ignoring your problems is more complicated than that one dimension, in my opinion.
I feel like, but like, Saad, you're only talking about like the problems thing, right? I feel like your thoughts can be anything. It could be something that's not really a problem. Like, it could be something you chill about, right? So, like, whatever you're thinking about. So, I think from what Zubair was saying about the introvert thing, um, I don't relate to that. I don't think I'm an introvert. I think I'm pretty extroverted. So, like, but like, from my end, it's like, I'm not really like, with my thoughts, I a lot of times like I won't really think about stuff when I'm alone. I'll end up thinking about less than when I'm with other people. So when I'm with other people, I end up like thinking more and being like, I'll be a bit more quiet. But when I'm alone, I'll be like I'll do random shit. I'll just do random stuff to like avoid what's going on. But like I'll end up thinking all this random thing like when I'm with people, and then when I'm alone, I'll like look back at that and stuff. Like, and I don't think it has to be problems. It can be anything.
yeah.
It could be,
No,
yeah,
that's the thing. A lot of people I've talked to, they like what they say is that once they start thinking about things, it goes out of control. Like it goes to like even if they're thinking about their past and their past events, they start overthinking, and so that like gets them stressed. And I like what I thought the reason behind it was that whole concept of thinking that you don't control your thoughts and that your mind is separate. Like, you know, that whole concept of thinking that you don't control your emotions, you don't control your thoughts, and all of that stuff. So, a lot of people find it scary being left alone with these
Yeah.
things. So,
I think like it has a lot to do with like someone's like stress threshold as well, and like their ability to want to change like a particular thing. Because a lot of people might want to like change like their thought patterns and all. Like we studied this in psych, like like everything always has a cognitive approach, and that's like where your thoughts and what your beliefs about a particular situation like affect the outcome and how they influence it. And I think like what you've said, like your topic like leans into that, because I mean, different people, like whether you're introverted or extroverted, it depends on like whether you want to address this particular thing, whether you don't, like how important it is to you that you actually want to make an effort to change. So I don't think like you could like base it off of, just introverted, extroverted.
Yeah, no, I just use that as an example for like I enjoy like just being left with my thoughts and just thinking, and it's usually I just don't do anything. I just look at my ceiling. I just like look at the walls, and I'm just thinking, and it doesn't have anything to do with being introverted. Like a lot of times I'm with people and I go off on a tangent. Like uh, people
Yeah, no,
listening,
I get that.
yeah, no,
I
but
get
people
that. Same,
listening,
same, same.
yeah, people listening won't know. Like the thing I sent you guys to read, that is what happens. Like a lot of times I get detached from my surroundings and the people I'm talking to, and I just go on these random like journeys on like different thoughts. And I enjoy that because I feel like I'm in control of like my thoughts. Like I can choose what to think about, when to stop, and all of that. But a lot of people, which I found very interesting, was them saying, talking about their mind like it's not part of them, it's something separate,
Mm,
and so they constantly
yeah,
try to avoid it. Yeah,
yeah, because a lot of people are like, no, like my mind is the enemy, my brain is the, like they refer to like a separate entity as if it's something that they're trying to like battle or like fight with, rather than accepting it how it is and like making
yeah,
the change within themselves to actually like change what they're thinking.
One thing which I found interesting about you saying, so you brought up this idea about how certain people um, kind of don't want to engage with their own thoughts, right? I feel like that aspect can bleed into a lot of like other aspects of a person's personality. Like I know people who like don't want to be alone for like long durations of time because they know that like okay, if I'm gonna be alone, I'm gonna end up thinking and I don't want to think. Or even like people who use intoxication to try and avoid having to think about things. On the other hand, people can be the exact opposite. Like if someone wants to, if someone is comfortable with themselves, if someone is in a healthy state of mind where they accept themselves, they accept their thoughts, and they like what you're talking, you're discussing, you can add the point of control of your mind, and like having your mind as like a tool. You can only really do that if you are healthy and accept yourself, and like if you like who you are as a person. If you don't really like how you are or certain things about yourself, or you're unhappy, it's really easy for yourself to spiral out of control. And that's when things like even being alone in the shower for a long duration or listening to music can be a threat to yourself, because you kind of want to ignore these things. I personally, I don't relate because I like engaging in these deep thoughts, even if it upsets me in some way.
yeah,
I like, I'd rather feel something than not feel anything. Um,
Yeah,
and the same thing, you're talking about how people watch TV or movies to try and avoid them. So a person can approach a movie or a song or a cartoon, I don't know, anything, any type of stimulation, or even friends, any type of stimulation. You can approach it in the sense that okay, this is um, something that can make me think more, something that can push me into new ideas, give me new perspectives, or it's a distraction. And that is completely over to the fact of like you're comfortable with your own thoughts and you enjoy it, like
yeah.
yourself, you enjoy
But
your own company.
but at the same time, also like I get what you're saying. But sometimes, even if you like your thoughts, there are points where you have to like, for me at least, I'm I analyze my thoughts well when I'm alone. But there are times I have to force myself to socialize to prevent that, because everything I think about comes down, like if I overthink about something, like everything comes down to the point that nothing really matters. Because when you like, um, it's like weird. It's like when, for example, thinking about school life or thinking about probably university and all of that stuff, you analyze it so much and then you start thinking, why do I value this? Why is this important? So a lot of my thoughts, like a lot of times I've had to force myself to go out and socialize and kind of avoid these thoughts because everything just came down to that very gloomy end of like, it doesn't really matter. Like everything I'm doing,
Yeah, I know.
it's like it
What you're
holds no
saying, like,
value.
what you're saying, like, I was talking to someone that day. I think Saz is there also. We were talking to someone that day who said the same thing. Like, like we think so much about like stuff like university and how like that's such a like major thing, right? We've pretty much spent like so many people, most of our grade pretty much spent like portion of their last year thinking about how they'll go to uni, where they'll go, blah blah blah, right? But then like I'll maybe end up watching something on the internet, or like for example with this whole Palestine thing going on. When I see stuff like that going on, I think about like, what I'm doing doesn't really matter. Like this university shit, all this shit, like it doesn't matter, but I give it like such a high regard, right? Like I think like, oh, this is what I need to do. But in reality, that's nothing. And like, when I start thinking that way, that's when like I want to stop, but at the same time I want to keep going. And it's like a
I
weird
mean,
conflict.
I kind of disagree with that. Like, if you compare like your situation with what's happening with other people in the world that way, like, yeah, nothing you do matters because you're so privileged, but that doesn't
Yeah,
take
no,
away from what's important in your life. Just because like some people have it way worse, doesn't
yeah,
mean
yeah,
that like
I agree. I'm saying I can just sometimes I go off on a tangent thinking that way. But I agree with you. Yeah, what you're saying, I agree with you, Hundo.
You
Um,
know, yeah, carry on.
okay, so there's two different like things. First of all, I felt like first like what Zubair was talking about felt a little bit like nihilism, like nothing matters at all, which was I feel like okay. So to address that, I feel like nihilism can be really dangerous, and you have to find some sort of meaning in your life. Like that should be any person's main priority,
Yeah,
especially like
no,
this.
I have something to add to that. Like once you're done.
So to just like literally you will always like perpetually always find yourself like you can think about literally anything in the world, you'll always find yourself going down the same thing. You have to derive your own sense of meaning to avoid these nihilistic thoughts. But in regards to what Ryan was saying in terms of like economic disparity or social disparity and how other people have it worse for yourselves, I actually agree with what Ryan was saying more than like what Chante was saying, in the sense that um I feel like uh, this relates to actually the nihilistic thing. So the fact that other people have it worse for me prevents me from going down these nihilistic thoughts, because I feel like okay, fine. So these other people, they there's so much fucked up shit in the world. Everything is wrong. So if I can do anything to make anything better in any way, like like literally anything, small effect, that means that something matters. If it doesn't matter to me, then it matters to someone, and even if they don't matter, like it's better than nothing. I guess that's just something that I've come to after I don't know. And you have to also be able to prevent these type of nihilistic thoughts. It's really nice to engage with them and go deep into them and think about like the emptiness of the universe, but you also have to have the resolution and mental fortitude to be able to prevent that from bleeding into the way that you are as a person. Like if you start thinking that nothing matters and you just be depressed and you'll never be able to like get out of bed in the morning. You have
Yeah,
to.
no, I like what I said wasn't like based on nihilism. It was more towards absurdism. It's like life is purposeless and it's just chaos. And like the only thing, at least for me, that stops me from going towards that direction is just religion, because that gives you a sense that um your your life has a purpose. Like there is a higher meaning to all of this. So it's well, I'm reading the myth of Sisyphus these days, which is basically talking about well, absurdism and existentialism. And the the first few lines just say something like the main point philosophy should address is whether life is worth living. And it just goes on to see how like everything's so chaotic and we pretty much don't have a purpose. And I agree with all of it. And the only thing that keeps me from acting on the possible actions like talked about in the book is religion. Because it basically says once you realize nothing has a purpose, there are two options. Either you respond to it or you commit suicide. So, like, I found that very interesting. So like
I
I think
agree.
in that way religion kind of brings in order. Like last time we talked, you said, like both of us said that if, let's say, there was no religion, you wouldn't mind committing like crimes like
Yeah,
murder and all of that. So in that way,
yeah,
I think whether religion is right or wrong, whether it's true or not, I think it just puts it keeps everyone in line and everyone in check. Because I mean, people who are not materialistic, who don't chase like money, fame, or anything like that, if you remove that purpose of life, you start thinking everything's kind of pointless. So might as well just do whatever I want.
I 100% agree. I'm pretty candid about this thing that a few years ago, like it was obviously like other factors that triggered it as well, but literally I had become like properly like depressed because the fact that I just felt like nothing that I could nothing that I did in my life mattered in the grand scheme of things. Like it was basically that it kept spiraling into like everything, like anything I did in any day, like it just felt useless. Okay, I the only way I could derive any sense of like anything was if I thought in a way that what I have to do is for like a grander cause. Okay, like I started thinking about how I want to change the world, and I started and making all these plans of like this is what I'm gonna do that's good, and I started acting on them as well in some ways. Like obviously not as much as I want, but my basic point was that the only thing, like you said about religion can give you order, the only thing that literally like it was stemmed from religious ideas, but the only thing that gave me a sense of purpose or gave me a sense of belonging in the like universe is that I need to do good. I need to change the world. I need to do something good. And it's obviously like kind of like delusional at times. Everyone says that, but this is what keeps me going. Like you have to. That's what I feel. I think of myself, like my purpose.
And Chandler, you lost.
No,
No, no,
I'm
I'm
just
listening. I
thinking.
was listening. I
Like
was listening.
all of you are saying, like, yeah, your purpose, religion, religion, but these all stem like this is you channeling your thoughts into like really like positive things. A lot of people, like say like a serial killer, they have really intrusive thoughts, really bad thoughts, okay, whatever. But the way that they deal with it, whatever, is gonna be killing people, and maybe to them that's their purpose. So like with absurdism, it says like, yeah, fine, life has no meaning itself, but you have to find the meaning, like you like give something meaning. So like the meaning you give doesn't necessarily have to be some like brilliant grand thing that you're changing the world. Like sometimes you just want to make the world a shit place and you're like, yeah, that's my meaning. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
the thing
mean,
what
that's
I
how you
was
take it,
saying,
right?
yeah, what I was saying about it brings order is that they're a bunch of serial killers. Now just imagine all the monks. They've given up on everything like materialistic. They've given up on all of that stuff. They're just about like being spiritual. If there were concrete facts and everyone knew that there is no God, there's no religion, there's no other purpose to life, you take away that spiritual aspect of life away from them. They have nothing else. They either kill
Mm.
themselves or they just stop giving a shit and then they go around doing whatever they want. Some may turn out well, like give other things purpose and move towards that direction. But I'm talking about people like for example, Alhamdulillah, I've had everything I want during my childhood up till now. I don't really care about materialistic things that much. So like if you take away that thing that okay, our life has a higher purpose, I'd stop caring. I'd probably do anything that comes to mind. So in that way, I think religion, and it's like having like a bigger picture is more satisfying as well, because it goes like, oh, the pain you're going through, eventually you will be rewarded for it. Oh, the you're having a shit time, but still you're being good to others. You're still being strong and making it through. You're not getting success in this world, but it makes you feel that, oh, after all of this is done, I'll probably get like I'll get a reward for all of this. Once you take
I
that
agree
idea
to
away,
100%.
yeah, once you take that idea away, you go like, yeah, I'm suffering for no reason. Why not like make other people suffer? Why why
Yeah.
not just end
Yeah, Hando.
yeah, why not just end this cycle of misery? So it's like, yeah, that's about it.
I agree 1000%. Um, one more thing about you talking about a bigger picture, right? I feel like, okay, so this is connected to the start. We were talking about how some people want to like can't have don't have control over like what they're thinking. The only times I've ever felt like I don't have control over what I'm thinking is when I start thinking about the bigger, like what my bigger picture is, what my plan is. Like for example, right now we had exams, right? I would be like, bro, I have really bad studying habits. I start studying a day before the actual exam. Fine. So I literally be on a timer. I have like hundreds of pages left, and I have to do it in like 3-4 hours. Fine.
I
So
get you,
at,
bro.
at that time, one of the worst things I can do is go off on these weird tangential thought processes. But I don't know, like I'll be listening to some sort of music, and maybe like one line in this song will remind me of something I want to do in my life, and then I'll start having all these like normally I encourage it. I love thinking about like what I'm gonna do, or like different type ideas, or what like different like romantic ideals, and like just crazy nice cool ideas. But when you sometimes you do want to block it out, like sometimes you just want to be like, shut up, focus on what you're supposed to be doing right now. That's kind of hard for me sometimes. That's the
I feel
only
like,
time. Yeah,
yeah,
I
go
was just
on.
saying that's the only time that like I have issues with like
I feel
overthinking.
like for me, when I'm supposed to block it out, is the time I probably don't like. Is the time I probably think the most. Like it's really weird, but it's like, for example, like same example. Actually, studying, right? When like if I'm not studying, I won't like I might not even think of anything like something which I'm actually want to think more about, right? Like I might think of stupid shit, but which I don't give a shit about, right? But other times when I'm studying, I'll read something and then I'll just be like, oh wait, and like it'll spark something in my head, and I'll just completely leave studying when I know I don't have that much time left. Like I, because even Saad starts like a day before, I start maybe 2 3 days before. Okay, but like I'll that whole day, like I'll just be like, no, 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 this is such a cool idea, whatever. I'll do whatever, I'll think about it or whatever, blah, right? And then like after I'm done, I'll like if it's something which I actually enjoy thinking about, I'll be like, okay, fine, it was worth it, right? But then like sometimes it's just like I just spent so much time thinking and doing this whole thing for nothing, and now I'm gonna fail this exam also, and I'm gonna literally like, and it's not only about exams, it's about like whatever the hell I want to
But
do,
to cry on
whatever the
with
hell
you,
I'm supposed to do.
I think you just really lack like mental discipline in the sense
Oh
that
yeah, you don't have to just fuck me over all the time, Shanti. Like that that's not a thing.
no, I'm just saying like from general patterns of like things I've noticed over the years.
Yeah,
Like I think a lot of it
this is a psych student, round. Okay, she's gonna
Even
break you
I'm a
down.
psych student. Even I'm a psych student. Yeah.
a lot of
What do
it
you
has to do with mental discipline because a lot of times you fucked over really important things in your life over like dumb things in the moment that you thought were really rewarding. And you
This is going
thought
on the
that you
internet,
wanted to
Shanti.
think these things. You were like, yes, these are my thoughts. I
Fair
love
enough,
them.
yeah. But even I think I have really bad mental discipline in times like
Yeah,
studying.
so do
Like
you. But like your mental discipline doesn't come from like that type of thing. So they're two different. Like I can't say specifically kya on this.
I sense a bias here.
No, no, no bias. I'm just saying, like with both of you also, you'll find every excuse not to want to study because fine, you don't want to, but like not like focusing on study, just
Also, I mean, feel
generally.
like okay, look, studying is a bad example because I lose mental discipline in it because I feel like it doesn't matter as much. Like I know I will only procrastinate when I know like I'll be able to do it. Like even if it's just
Ah,
subconsciously I'm thinking कि ठीक है हो जाएगा, like it just happens. Otherwise in things like that, like I when I know that I have to do it, then I have like I'll make excuses and procrastinate when I feel like it's fine and it will happen.
I
And
think
normally
for
it
me
works
it
out for
is
me. It's not like I'll give you another example. I'll just give one example about like how I'm saying कि, like I lose interest. Like bro, I was listening to you. You know that YouTube thing, Lo-Fi Girl,
Yeah.
it
Mm,
plays those beats for
yeah,
studying.
yeah,
yeah.
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whenever I study, I try and play that to like try and block out like stuff, bro. But then it's really funny, bro. Like the beats will be playing. Over that, I start freestyling. Like, bro, like the stupidest shit. Like, it just comes to my head. Like, I can't, because like I don't want to study like at that time.
Bro, same.
And
No,
like, bro,
and for
it
me,
was like literally I had a paper. I had a paper in the morning. I had 2 hours left, and I had like two subjects that day. I started freestyling to like lo-fi beats. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's really like really hard to
No,
focus on stuff
for
that
For
me,
like
me,
it's
for
I
me,
don't
it's not
prioritize.
about focusing. For me, it's not about focusing. It's more about like what I'm doing. Like if I find something I'm studying when it comes to studying, also, if I find something I'm studying really interesting, I'll be able to study that. Like I won't mind. Okay, then I won't lose focus. But the second I'm studying something like, for example, like something in econ, okay, like econ is dead, school econ at least it's dead, and like when I'm studying that, it's like I already know what half of it is, and I know what it is. It's just that I don't know well enough to do it in the exam, but I'm still doing it, right?
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
when
I
i
agree.
that's when I lose focus, because like that's when I'm like, yeah, Abhi, I know what this is. But then it's like, wait, like, so I'm like, okay, I lose focus. But in subconsciously, I know, wait, I don't know enough to write a whole essay on this. But then even I'm like, no, I'll BS something, I'll do something. But yeah, I think what Chandra was saying about mental, what do you say? Mental stability or what?
Discipline,
Discipline.
What do you say?
Discipline.
discipline,
Discipline.
discipline.
Yeah, mental discipline. Sorry. Yeah, no, I think I do lack that though, 100%. But like, I feel like it's only when I'm not interested in something I'm doing. When I'm actually interested in something I'm doing, I'll probably like I can spend four,
no.
5 hours doing it.
I think that way, um, that is where your mental discipline comes into it.
Yeah,
Of course, if you're doing something interesting,
True.
you
True, true,
will
true, true,
want to
true.
focus on. But the idea is that your
exactly.
entire life, you're not going to have that privilege of just like focusing on things you find
Enjoying.
True,
interesting.
true, true, true,
Yeah.
So
true,
it's
true,
like
true.
being able to control your thoughts at that time. And like, so whenever I study, it's not about like mental discipline, but I just get frustrated because it's like I have so many ideas in my mind and I'm just wasting my time studying things that I'll never use in my practical life. None of it none of it is presented to me in an interesting way that I'd like develop like an interest in it.
I
And
agree.
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
I study outside, so I'm walking in my garden, and especially at night, if I've been doing this for the past 4 months. I just look up, and from my like area you can see a lot of stars for some reason. um, and I just look at the stars, and what I start to think is that, okay, like, I mean, I view myself from like a star's perspective. I like realize how insignificant I am, and like that's where the whole thing of like, even while studying, I'm thinking that none of this holds any value. I don't hold any value. None of my actions will really do anything. I'm just gonna die and move on. Nothing will ever change, and it's just, I don't know, it just gets annoying because it's like if I have limited time in this world to actually do something meaningful, and by meaningful for me, I mean it's like influence other people, present ideas or thoughts that live on even when I'm gone. And it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
like people remember my name. It's like they just keep carrying those thoughts. Like that way, it satisfies me thinking that, okay, I've influenced people.
I mean, in a way, this podcast is literally doing just that. I just think like you have a really negative view of like things in general. Like you and Saad basically want to do the same thing, but
Sanjay's on
you
smoke today.
okay. Oh,
Sanjay's here to call everyone else out.
no, I'm just saying like your approach is that I want to do something important. I want to do something that like really big and like influence people. But your mindset is coming from the thinking like, but I'm so small, I'm so insignificant, I can't. But like you're only 18, like you can't really
No, it's
determine
not.
that.
It's not that. Okay, yeah, I go on that tangent a lot. So what I think is that I want to influence people. It's not about that point. But I don't think about my significance. I think about how I'm like I can't do anything because I'm held back because over time I've grown up in a house where I've developed a habit of valuing grades, and even though I consciously
Hmm.
know that it holds no value, that fear in me keeps me like on the point where I'm studying, and then that pisses me off because I feel like I could be doing something more worthwhile. I could be writing, I could be, let's say, filming something or sharing something with other people that would influence them.
I got
And
that.
it's like, see, I don't care if I influence one person or I influence millions, as long as I influence someone, I find that like satisfying. So that's why, like, that's also one of the reasons my favorite compliment is someone calling me interesting, because that way I know it's like I've impacted that person in a way that even if they stop talking to me, even if they like move on in life, they might think about the things I've said. So it's like being bound. Like I'm sitting in my room in front of books studying things for a grade that'll just help me in the next step, which is university, which clearly didn't pay off for me despite all of that stuff. So it just frustrates me even more. So it's just it just gets annoying, like.
Yeah, but see, when I think about it, when I think about, okay, I'm have to do this exam, blah blah blah. Okay, so in my head, it's just like, okay, this is a societal standard that's bound on me. We live in really like rigid environments in matlab, Pakistan. This is a very straightforward land we have. Okay, it does. I agree. For me also, I don't think it matters, and it's really pissing off. But I just think, okay, I have to do it, so I just get through it and just do it, like just finish it. Okay, it doesn't matter if it goes amazing or it goes good or bad, just finish it, do it, get through it. And then I do get annoyed if I see footballers or musicians or people following their passions and they have no limits like us. They get to do whatever the hell they want, and they're much younger than us and they're already making big differences in the world. Pisses me
Oh,
off. Like I want to also do that. I want to follow my passion. I want to do what I want. Like I know that when I end up getting the freedom, like I'm done with this stuff. And it's not only about school, bro. School is one thing. Okay, we'll always be bound by these. If we were rich and if we were like we didn't have these expectations on us, okay, you have to do a certain amount of thing, we would probably be already be like achieving like at least some portion of like what we wanted to do. There's always going to be an economic barrier like holding you back. You're always going to have to like work to pay shit, like you have to pay bills, you have to do, I don't know, there'll always be stuff like holding you back from achieving your dreams. But just get through it. It's one thing, and then don't let that prevent you from giving up. Like never give up on the other stuff. Like for me at least, when you were talking about like, okay, the stars are watching me and I'll feel like this, like bro, if I died right now, I'd be like fucking, like if I, okay, imagine if I was playing a video game, okay, I died and then I got a report of like, this is what your character did. I would be like,
hmm.
fucking shit, yeah, this is shit. Like I was like this close. Like I know eventually when I get to this shit part, I'll be able to do whatever the hell I want. I have to. Okay, if I don't, I'll die trying. Okay, but on the way, like it is annoying. It's just like just you have to get through it. I again, see, these things are when I have these like thoughts, I always have to try and put myself into like a barrier. Like I know there's something, some things, some type of thoughts that I just can't let myself get into because it'll shift my focus away. So if I start thinking about like, okay, what if I, for example, I have set a certain type of certain goals for myself. If I start thinking too much about all the other possibilities, if I didn't do those goals and I give myself the freedom to be like, okay, what if I did this? What if I did this? It'll prevent me from achieving my goals. Because um, when a child is born, they are born with infinite possibility. They can do literally fucking anything. That child can become the king of Mars. That child can fucking end the world. That child can become, they can marry you. Like, it can be anyone, okay? That child is anything, fine. But the more you grow, the more opportunities behind you you're losing. And the more narrowing, you're becoming narrowed down. That's why I believe that children should, like, the education system, the main goals for the education system is from a young age try and derive what that child's interests are, what that child's goals are, and continue to like focus it, like hone in on those talents or those fields to try and like push them in that way so they can become the highest amount of like what they are, like what their
Wait, I have
potential is.
something to say based on that system. So I think about these things about the education system most of a lot. You know, when you say limit, like see what that kid's like capable of and all of that stuff, and like help them like towards one path where they'll be amazing. I've talked to my parents about this as well, and they said something interesting. They're like, that's easy to say, but if you see a kid, you see he's interested in something. Let's say he's interested in golf, he's amazing at golf, and then you narrow that kid to golf. After there is a chance he just gets sick of it and he feels like he's being forced to do it. He
Mm.
loses that interest. He stops caring. Like a lot of like, well, even in movies, like there are a lot of movies where like a dad tries to force their kid to do something they're amazing at. They're amazing at it, but like they feel like they've been
They
Whiplash.
don't
taken
want to do
away.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
feel
don't
like
want to
they've
do it.
lost that freedom of choosing whether to do it or not. So like, I mean, in that way, it's off. And then the other thing is like, if you limit a child to one thing, like they're not exposed to anything else. Later down the line, they might see another field and they go like, "Oh, why was I just limited to this? I find that a lot interesting." And it's
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
and the
like
reason
personally for
why,
me,
y-
yeah, yeah, no, go on,
yeah,
go on.
it's the reason why our education system is this way is because it's just efficient now in a way that every next step of our life, it becomes easier for the higher ups to choose who they want to take. Our schooling system is in a way that we get grades which, in a way, are standardized and can be used to compare different people. That's why our curriculum is the same. That helps people in the next step, which is university, to choose who they want. Then based on the new university you go to, your GPA and the different activities you've done in that system, people employing get to see, oh, who they want. And then based on, it's just, it's
Yeah,
like I don't think there's gonna be any big change in the world until and unless everything just gets destroyed. Like,
Yeah, this I was watching this anime. It's called Doctor Stone. The entire world is like frozen, like, and then millenniums pass, and then they have to rebuild civilization. So they make conscious decisions about like, okay, which thing they would want or they wouldn't want. And like, have you seen the movie Whiplash?
yeah,
It's about this. Okay, so it's the same idea. Like this father tries to force. I'm not advocating like forcing children down a specific path. I'm saying we should normalize the ability for children to want to develop that next stage of themselves earlier. Like if someone is really talented at something, they should be given those like interest, like they should be focused in on those things. Like okay, like I'm talking about myself personally. I know since for the longest time I wanted to be a cardiologist. Around sixth grade,
Okay,
no,
what?
seventh grade. Since seventh grade, I've wanted to be a lawyer. Okay, seventh grade till second year, I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and it's a roughly the same idea, the same type of ideas I've wanted to have. If I had been since then, I've been able to like focus in on it, like get that things like it just would save a lot of time, and I'd be able to do a lot of things faster. Like
I
people,
mean,
we
I
don't
get what you're
have a lot of
saying.
time on this earth.
I
We're
get
gonna
what you're
fuck
saying,
that.
but then there are people. I fully get what you're saying, but then there are people who are like they wanted to do, like, you know how you said you wanted to be a cardiologist, right? There are people who in O levels wanted to be doctors, like bro, like Like,
So I'm saying it should be
you
the
wanna
same thing for
go,
everything, that it should be like
you should have
access
a
to that.
choice to be able to do that. Yeah, no, I understand that, but I feel like the way it's just made right now. Firstly, though, I think we're going really off topic. But like, secondly, I think the way it's made right now is that like the education system is just so like everyone always has some sort of thing to rebound off of. Like for example, if you do what you want to, and then like for example, like right now, Saad, you want to do law, you do law, whatever. Let's say at some point you reach a point where you don't want to do law anymore, like you're just sick of it. You've still done enough while growing up to be able to rebound back to do something else, right? If you had only from like 7th grade studied only law, right, you'd have to do shit you did from 7th grade till fucking like A2 to be able to branch into anything else. Do you get what I'm
Bro,
saying?
I'd be able
Yeah,
to
no,
branch into things.
wait, no, no. I have something to add to what Ryan said. The system you're proposing is the best system only if a kid could see their future self and
Yeah.
Yeah.
could have the experiences they'd have like in the future. Because like, see, you the thing is that if you limit yourself, like for example, I did not want to do medicine. Like since ninth grade, I did not want to do medicine. My parents told me to take biology because it'll be an option. I wanted to narrow myself towards CS, and now I see myself moving more towards medicine. And that an idea that like, for me at least, what the reason why I prefer choosing medicine is that I may not be that interested in it, but I know I'd be good at it. So it's like sometimes like a kid may be skilled at like have a lot of skill towards a particular field, but they might be interested in something completely different. So if even if you give them that option, what if they act on their interest rather than their skill? And so they enter a field where they find it interesting in the start, but they've narrowed themselves and they realize they have no skill. They have nothing to fall back on. So
Yeah, but I'm not
Yeah.
saying, the main thing I'm saying is not to limit it, but the same thing you're saying about how you were given that. Okay, so for example, when I was given my O-level subjects, my parents said take chemistry, bio. I had all sciences because of the same thing. Okay, if you change your mind later, you'll get stuck. But I regret having to take those all sciences because TK, I had those options. I still have those options. I can go and do whatever the hell I want to. But it's opportunity cost also, right? Like I lost out on all that time when I could have been specializing in stuff that I care about, and I could have become better than how I already am. I could have like I know what I'm interested in, and I know what the type of person I want to be. I could have specialized and become already like.
yeah, so the thing with that is that the reason why I even realized why my parents told me to, instead of just going specialized into one direction, like to open my options, is because opening your options is the safest option. There's a lot of uncertainty involved because yeah, like for example, your parents don't know exactly how interested you are towards a particular field, because their view will also be that he or she is a teenager right now, it might change. So from their view, they just want to choose the path which is the least like um which involves the least risk. Like why do our parents want us to go to the best universities? Because there's a higher chance you'll get employed at a good place and there's a higher chance of success. And like it's like it's very weird because as kids we want something, but adults who've experienced a particular thing want something else,
Mhm.
and then you have to choose whether you want to choose experience or you want to choose a new generation. And like a lot of times we tell our parents, oh, this happened during your generation, the times have changed.
Yeah.
But like it's a lot of things that factor in. And so like yes, it's good to have that option, but I see a lot more regret than like, you know,
Bro,
um,
I have this discussion with my father since the time immemorial. Like I always have the same thing. He thinks he'll know lots about like because he sees my decisions as like a mirror of like what he's gone through, right?
yeah,
He's like, I went through this. I wanted to change stuff. You can't at the end of the day. But bro, you're also Like he doesn't understand, and other people understand that I'm very. I don't know, bro. Maybe it's because I think differently from majority of people. I'm just really rigid. I'm really stubborn. I'm really like that thing. I feel like if I make my mistakes, I want them to be my mistakes. If I regret it later, I won't blame it on anyone else. I'll own up to my mistakes. I don't see myself regretting what I want to do right now, because I know that even if I want to, even if I like regret being limited by something or anything, like whatever, I know the rough idea of like the stuff that I want to do, like in the sense of like if I'm given a setback, I'll be able to myself decide the next way forward for that. And I'm not going against anything that you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that for different circumstances, different things apply, right? So for me
Yeah.
as an individual, that's not what I wanted. I've wanted a specific thing for a really long time. I think about it all the time. I will work towards that. And like, okay, so this all started by me saying, okay, um, when I think about the future, I try and limit myself into going into one thing. So to give an example of that is, lots of times um, I think about how, you know, I want to do something. I want to do certain things, okay? But I know that I'll need economic, like I need money, bro, to like pay for the stuff that I want to do. So then I think, okay, what if I just give up on being a criminal lawyer, give up on being a constitutional lawyer, bro? I'll just go into fucking being a like a lawyer in some big firm, a corporate lawyer, and just make a bunch of money, work in America even, you get a lot of money, then I'll be able to do what I want to do. That's what my parents have like always said. But like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to give up on what I want to do. It doesn't matter if something is easier. I don't want to give up.
Yeah, no,
If it's hard for me, if it's shit for me, if it's my I made that decision, right? So I'll be fine with it.
Yeah,
it's
but you're a very one-off case. Not everyone's like that. You know,
yeah,
a lot
no,
of
no,
people.
I think like sorry to cut you off, but one thing I wanted to say a lot was when you started talking about what your father said and what you said. I think a lot of times these discussions, at least in Desi like households, are never fruitful because a parent is not
Yeah,
ready to accept that the kid's views and opinions might hold value, and the kid is not ready
yeah,
to accept that the parent knows how it feels to grow up and understand the circumstances at this time and age.
Yeah.
And so that conflict, like, bro, I see myself slightly becoming a bit mature because I've realized this, and now I try to make an effort, and now I see my parents try to make an effort to understand that a lot of shit I'm saying isn't just BS. So it's like
Yeah.
that's
I
also
get
one
what
of
you're
the
mm,
saying.
reasons why that's one
I
of the
get what you're
reasons
saying.
why like our system might like won't change. Like our school,
yeah,
it will remain unnamed, but like our school doesn't listen to students when it comes to making changes because they probably think, oh, they're just impulsive, they don't have the experience or the knowledge yet. And we think the school's decisions are wrong because they don't understand that the times have changed and like they need to like bring stuff in new. And that like ईगो रीजंस होंगे मतलब stupidity होगी immaturity होगी जो भी that like when both sides aren't willing to work together, whether it be parents or like the kid, the students or the school, like higher ups that make the system and the people
Yeah,
working in it,
generational gap.
yeah, when you don't like there's not proper communication between that, it leads to a system like we have today. You can't change
yeah,
it is what it is, like you have to just go through it.
yeah. But I also think like our culture has a lot to do with that. Like Desi households, like
Yeah.
anything that has to do with like humanities type, everyone shits on it. They're like, you're not gonna make money. That's not something you should get into. Like for me personally, my mom was always like, you're gonna be a doctor. You have to be a doctor, doctor, med, med, med. So like in my A levels, I even took sciences. I was shit in maths, so I never took maths. But I took psych, and psych was supposed to be like my filler subject. Like, you know, I don't care about it. I'm just doing it because it's easy, and I don't want to get into it. I'm gonna do med. But when I took psych, I realized I fucking hate med. I don't like any of my science subjects. Like I like bio and I like psych. I didn't like physics and I didn't like chem. And I still like sat through them because my mom was like, no, no, no. And for me, like my mom, she like dropped out halfway through uni and she got married. So she like wants to live through my experiences. No, Shante has to do this. Shante has to like go to uni, then get a master's, blah blah blah. Basically everything she wanted to do, I'm forced to do it because she couldn't do it. Okay,
Yeah,
and I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to fucking do med. And even now, like when I tell her, like I'm gonna do psych, she's like, haha, yeah, do it. But like it's really bitter, and like I don't enjoy talking about like my future plans with my parents because they just shit on them. They don't get it. They're like, yeah, yeah, okay, you don't know. Maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you'll change your mind. My mom still thinks I somehow miraculously change my mind and do med, which I won't. And even with uni, like she's sending me to a place where she's like, you have like the option to switch to XYZ, you can always switch. So like they don't even like support what I want to do because it's more humanities
yeah.
type, which
No,
makes
the thing with the
yeah,
culture thing that I wanted to say was I two things. First of all, I find the way our like system runs, like I find it very sad because our culture was so colorful in terms of
yeah,
literature, art,
literature,
music,
yeah,
like even philosophy and a lot of like it was beautiful, but like now we're
watered down to like sciences and
yeah, and
business.
that's also because see um in at least I don't know if like both of you guys feel it, but like for my house at least, I'm the only son. And one thing in our culture,
Yeah, no,
it's
I feel it.
considered,
Trust me.
yeah, it's considered that the
I'm the
child
only
is
kid,
going
bro.
to yeah the child is going to support the parents. And unlike
Yeah,
बाहर जहाँ usually होता है old home में आप switch कर दो and then the kid leaves the house after 18, they're supposed to leave the house,
yeah,
so they can follow what they want to do. They have to support themselves. For me,
Yeah,
at least, I really wanted to study philosophy. I wanted to become a professor and like
yeah,
go towards that side. I can't do that only because I know I will have to support my parents, and like that
yeah,
way I value them too much to like give them a shit old age. So like in that way we're
yeah,
usually limited to law, engineering,
exactly,
business, yeah, medicine. क्योंकि there
you know,
exactly,
for me, it's like um, I relate with what you're saying fully, but at the same time, it's like whenever I talk to my parents about like what I want to do, because it's like I myself am not that sure about what I want to do. Firstly, like I know there are few. I just know what I don't want to do, but I know like whatever I'm gonna like with through business, I'm gonna be able to do. Like I have a rough idea of what I want to do, and I know through business I'll be able to do that right through this thing, right? My parents, they ask me about what I want to do, and when I tell them, like I tell them the same thing, that I don't really know. I want to do this right now and that. Luckily my parents don't ever get on me, okay, like no, you have to do this, no, you have to do that, because like I mean my dad used to, but like my mom was always like just as long as you go to university in this, because for my mom, I feel like Shanzi, the same thing. Shanzi, how you said the thing that she wants to live through your mom kind of wanted to live through
yeah,
you,
yeah,
right? My mom didn't get to go to uni because like my nana is like whatever, like theek hai,
yeah,
we
yeah,
won't send her to uni, fine. So my mom's like, yeah. So my mom's like, no, Ran, I just want you to go to uni. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. Uske baad, I know you'll figure something out. Like, I know you, I know you'll figure something. I just want you to do these things. These are the main things that I care about, right? And like, like, I get into like with my parents, like, a lot of people like at this time they get into arguments or like they have things against their parents right now because of
yeah,
like them being no, I'm saying
yeah.
something else, Chance. I'm saying them being because of like them being like a burden on your future decisions. For me,
Yeah,
my parents don't really care about like what I want to do in the future. They're like, "Jo karna hai kar lo. It's fine. We know you'll manage to do something. We have enough faith in you to manage to do something or whatever that is. Even if you don't manage to do something, it's fine. You'll be happy while doing whatever you want to do because that's the type of person you are. You'll just find something to do which makes you happy, right? But then it's like they'll be more about like at me for the stuff I do right now, which I know doesn't matter and they know doesn't matter, but they'll just be like, ये चीजें कर लो, finish like the first 5 levels, उसके बाद like the less like the other 100 we don't give a shit about. Okay, you're on your own, that's your life, whatever. But then that's where I'm like, that's where like for me, that's where I kind of want them to give a shit about. Like I don't want them to give a shit about what's happening right now because I feel like this is useless. I feel like
Yeah.
my OE level's useless. I feel like my uni is gonna be somewhat useful, right? And then what I do after uni, the first 4 years after uni, is going to be the most useful, right? I want
Hmm.
them to actually give a shit about that, maybe because I know my parents, especially the way they are, they'd be able to help me with that. And I've spoken to them about it, but then they're just like, no, no, you'll figure something out. But with like, with what I want to do right now, I'm like, okay, don't care about what I'm doing right now. They're like, no, no, this is what we have to care about. So it's really ulta. And
Yeah,
like,
no, like I get that. Okay, first of all,
it's a way I explained it in a really weird way.
yeah,
I
no,
don't know how if you got what I
first of
said.
all, time's up. But to end that, I'm just saying they're saying they're gonna let you go, but after that they're gonna go like, no,
Yeah, they
और
won't.
एक दो और चीजें कर लो और इस तरह करके till
Yeah,
the
I
day
know.
they die, they're going to like want to
Yeah.
direct you towards
I
somewhere.
know. I
Literally
know. I
lazy
know.
parenting
Yeah.
I
tactics.
know.
So, if anyone made it to this part of the video, thank you.
Yep.
I
So
guess
off
like
topic.
Comment. Shanze was on smoke.
yeah. um, and like and subscribe. I guess we're gonna start doing this more often because I actually want to like build something from this. So,
For us to get the topic.